All right. Hi, coaches. I am back again with another faculty member for the 2024-25 AJC Coaching Career School, and it's with my good friend and colleague Amir Karkouti. People may have seen that I've been inviting Amir to be faculty for the last couple of years, and what's brilliant about Amir is every single time he runs a masterclass, every time that he speaks, he shares something different, and it's gold. And his masterclass last year was so different than the one before, and both times we've had such incredible feedback that it made absolute sense for me to invite Amir back again. So welcome, Amir.
Yeah, what an intro. Thank you so much, Kush. And I am so honored. Honestly, I am among greats with you guys. I mean, the faculty that you have, the person that's running it, which is you. There's a moment where I feel like, oh man, am I in the right group? Am I in the right faculty? And I will tell you, you make me feel like I'm at home. The people that are in your community are amazing. So thank you so much for having me back. I'm really honored.
It's a pleasure. And like I said, we always get great feedback and I learn so much from you. So today we were just going to do a short 20-minute recording just to give people a flavor or a feeling for your masterclass that you've got upcoming in the school. And there are so many things that we could talk about. I know that you've recently hired a business coach yourself. You run your own businesses and there's things you wanted to share there. But one of the things that I really find about you, and I was lucky enough to spend a couple of days with you in January in person for the first time ever, is that you really live in this way with a spirit of generosity. So in coaching, we often talk about being of service and serving people and really, kind of over delivering, but you live that as just a way you are in the world, not just in your coaching practice. And I was wondering if you could say anything about that and how that plays out in your other businesses.
Yeah, so we never know what we're going to talk about. We literally spend 5 minutes to say hello and catch up, and we go, "Oh, we should talk about this and record it." So I love that this is real, this is raw and as live as it gets. We're talking about generosity, and something came up. I just thought about generosity, and I closed my eyes for a minute before we got on this call, and I thought, what was the most generous thing that I've ever experienced, and when I actually noticed something for me, and it was when I was about 7 or 8 years old. When we moved to this country, my parents had two suitcases and we were on the streets of Northern California. We had no money. We ended up getting government assistance. And one of the things that they did back in the day, they had a cheese and milk, an abundance of cheese and milk, the government did. So that what they would do is they have a cheese line in Northern California where you go get cheese and then you go back home. And I noticed something that my mom would do. Every time she got cheese, she would make a big batch of stuff. And it was just me, my brother, my father, and my mom at the house. But she would make enough food for about 20 people. And she did it every week. And I'm like, Mom, what is this for? She was making food for the neighbors. She was making food for the guests that would come in. And that was my first taste of generosity. My parents came to this country with nothing. And my mom told me, the way that they built the American dream is by giving when they didn't have anything to give yet. And it didn't make sense to me. And I realized something. I ended up recently hiring a coach for my business. My business is thriving. And that's like the best time to actually hire somebody is when you're doing well and you want to see your blind spots. It's always good when you're first starting and you're making a lot of money. Best times to have coaches. And one of the requirements with him is if we work together, we have to give 20% of our income to a charity. It's required. He won't let me work with them. It's called tithing in churches. And he said, I want you to do it now. And he said, and I asked him, I said, what about people that aren't making money? He said, I don't care where you're at in your stage of your business. If you're barely making money, I still want you to give 20%. And I'll tell you why. He gave me two reasons. Number one is when you don't give it, when you think you don't have enough, when you have a lack mindset, you're going to have the same mindset when you have a ton of money. And at that time, you're going to say to people, well, I'll do it when I have another million. Oh, I'll do it when I have 2 million. He says, so learn to start giving now. And thank goodness I had my mom who taught me that at a young age. When we're on food stamps, we were living at somebody else's home in their living room. She had that mindset. And now my mom is close to her 80s. She has 3 rental properties. She paid off all her houses. This is someone that came from nothing, that didn't speak the English language. Now you're going to say, well, yeah, that might be an anomaly. Well, the reason that my coach wants me to give 20%, he actually said statistics and science has actually shown when you give a percentage of your income, you tend to have more wealth. If I can find the study, Kush, I'll send it to you. But if you can give money, a percentage of your money, you tend to become more wealthy. And I think the reason that is because when we have a giving mindset, we're more open to the universe. Our heart's more open to receiving. And to be honest with you, I see this happening over and over with the way that you show up for people. When you're doing the school, I see you giving so much that if they don't join your school, they will know more than most people know if they read a book, or if they went to a webinar, or if they did another school, or if they didn't go to your school. You give so much. And I want to ask you why you do that. I'm curious about that. You send out books. You spend time with me when I have something. You'll block out an hour and give me an hour of, I don't know, it's priceless how much you give me of value and coaching. And not only just, I'm talking friendship alone, but you'll go aside and say, hey, can I help you with that? And I know you do that with others. And for me, that generosity isn't an option anymore. I've seen what it does for me, not as if like I'm going to give because I want something back. That's not why I do it. There's just something that shifts in my universe when I've just come from this gratitude and love and giving that's unconditional. And that's just something that I've noticed. And I want to kind of see what your idea around this is.
Thank you for sharing that story, Amir. It's really touching to hear that from your parents, and I can really relate to that. And seeing, I guess I'm kind of second generation. My grandparents came over to the UK, and my mom and dad were born in India, but my dad came over when he was very young. And there was this spirit of generosity in my grandfather's generation where, even though they had very little, they would always give, they'd always help each other out. They would, support. And, my grandfather created a wonderful life and business for himself. And it's funny because I had this weird thing growing up where I equated people who were very wealthy and greed. And I know it's a very common thing. And then as I started getting coached around this and started looking in the direction of the three principles and just going deeper into personal development, I started to see that wasn't true, that whilst there were some people who were operating from greed, the vast majority of people I knew who were, wealthy and prosperous were very, very generous. And I found the same thing in the coaching space, that my coach is a guy called Steve Hardison. He charges what some people would say a lot of money. I actually think he's incredibly good value for money, and he gives a lot of his wealth away. My former coach is a guy called Steve Chandler, who I think a lot of people know. And he has been so generous with me to the point that it's brought me to tears on more than one occasion. And I really believe it's actually our natural way of being. When I look at my son, okay, yes, sometimes he doesn't want to share his toys, but when you look at young children, they've got this spirit of generosity. It's our true nature. It's who we are. And in coaching, that's what always felt odd when I was being taught some of these strategies around creating a business. It didn't feel right. And what I got taught from Steve Chandler and people like that was I could operate from this natural way of being. And it's so rewarding, and it's great business sense. When I give so much, I just feel good about that. I feel good running a business where I know whether someone hires me or not. So for example, in the school, my real mission is to change the coaching industry. And that's not just something I say to sound cool. I know that's a deeper truth for me. And so if I'm going to change the industry, I'm not going to do that on my own. And how rewarding is it for me? And I get so much knowing that I'm putting stuff out year on year, making it better and better, that other people might charge thousands of dollars or thousands of pounds for, and it's genuinely helpful. So yeah, that's why I do it.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, speaking of your school, I want to say a little bit about your school, because some people may or may not know this about your school. Your school doesn't just make good coaches. They come out as good coaches. They are able to have a thriving business. They are able to feel confident in their coaching, but you are creating good humans. What is a good human? When I see the kind of posts that the people in your schools write, it's always about giving back. It's always about their shares. They're like, when you tell them, hey, I want you to share about yourself, they're sharing about themselves is what they've done for others. Like time and time again, they glow and bask in how much that they are now able to give to others, because when they've given to others, they can now finally receive as well. And it's interesting, Kush. One of the things, like I made a note here about with you, Kush, is when I see the way that you work with your clients, you don't work with them and see them as clients. You let them be human beings. One of the gifts that you have, Kush, that I see, and that's part of your giving that I love, is you found a way to create a school to make people be amazing human beings and strip off all the excess stuff so they can give a lot of themselves to others. That alone creates an environment where wealth doesn't become an issue. Now, I'm not just talking financial. The minute we hear wealth, people say, oh, it's a school for wealth. I'm talking spiritual wealth, mental wealth, financial wealth. Once this wealth happens, you start seeing it everywhere because you're part of that system. You're part of that creation. And I'm telling you, like, I'm telling you this as an outsider, as someone that is part of the faculty and as a part of someone that comes and sees your videos, as part of the person that comes and sees the community that you've built in your Facebook groups and what they say about you and what they say about the school. To call the school is a disservice. It truly is a gift to humanity. I really believe that. And I've done a lot of schools, and I'm not saying this to your horn, I am being dead serious. I actually forgot that we're recording this because when we talk, I talk to you so often that I forget if it's being recorded or not. You've created a gift for others to see their value, their worth. So it gives others permission to see their value and worth. So it gives others permission to see their value and worth. And now we just have a group of amazing souls that have elevated the consciousness of humanity. And then we package it up and we call it coaching. But I'm going to tell everyone here a secret. He calls it coaching so we know what it is. But when you stay and spend time with Kush and the people in this group, you will see such a dramatic shift. And I'll tell you why I know that. Because whenever I'm in the group and I listen to the faculty and I listen to you and I hear the people in this group, it elevates mine. And it's such a gift I wish people can experience, and I hope people do. And the ones that are in the group, you are in for a treat. You are in for a treat. And I cannot wait to see the kind of changes that happen and unfold. It's amazing, Kush. I'm telling you, it's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you, Amir. Coming from you, that means a lot to me. And I know there are so many schools out there, and I didn't want to create something that was just another, like, oh, it's another school. This is a good business strategy. I think you've known me for long enough, and this is why I think we get on, because we come from a similar place that we really care, and I really care. And sometimes people ask me, like, why is it that you do this? Why do you do what you do? I'll tell you something. I do it selfishly, very, very selfish, because it feels so good to me to help people. And you're absolutely right that whilst we do cover the strategies and the systems, and of course we are really a school that helps people create a solid income, that's super important. I don't want to like do a bait and switch and say, oh, hey, we're here to help you with this, and then ignore it.
Absolutely.
We absolutely cover that. But really what's behind that is where we're coming from. And this is why I love having you in the school as faculty, because whilst you've coached for many years and you've written a bunch of books, and I mean, to my mind, you're one of the most qualified coaches there is, not because of any credentials you have, but your experience with life and the coaching you've had. And I love that you bring that real world experience into the faculty, because the stuff you share is unlike what anyone else shares. But this is what is important to me. I could have come from a place of, let me create the faculty who have got the biggest audience, who the biggest draw, to like, this makes good, like from a doing standpoint, this is the best thing to do. But I didn't do that. I wanted to come from, how can I create a faculty that is truly going to help people? It doesn't matter how many people they've got following them. It doesn't matter how big their audience is. But from all the coaches I know, from all the teachers I know, who comes from that right place and is going to have the deepest impact on the people in the school, that helps them not only make money, but like you say, helps them be a better human, because ultimately that's what helps us have a thriving and sustainable coaching practices when we're walking our talk.
You know, for those listening, and that are in the school or considering it, you will, if you do the work, have a successful practice. You will be able to enroll. You will be able to connect with people effortlessly, but it'll be all covered from a blanket of humanity. I think that's what separates this. I'm not saying that. And again, I've gone to some great schools. I was in a Chandler school, absolutely amazing. And I would say that very similar to yours, same kind of connection and blanket. But I think that what I am seeing that I love in your community, again, the blanket that covers how you do the enrollment, how you come from service, how you enroll. When you have a blanket coming from that humanity sense, here's what's cool about this. I see people who struggle because they are worried about how do I make another blank amount of money this time? How do I enroll and do it? And it's such a rough way of doing it. When it comes from this blanket of humanity, there's more ease to it. There's more effortlessness to it. Does it mean you're not going to do the work? Absolutely. I'm doing the work right now with the coach that I'm working with, but I can't wait till it's Monday so I can do it. Like, it's been a long time for me, and that's what's cool from being both a coach and being someone that's being coached. If you have a good coach, when you look forward to doing the work with them. That's one of the tenets that I look for, is when I go on Monday, am I going, oh, he's going to make me do a bunch of work? Or is it, I can't wait to see what I'm going to create with this person and what's going to unfold? The people that you connect with, if you're in the school, you're going to have that kind of relationship with your clients. They're going to do the work. and they're going to unfold things they've never thought possible. The people that are going to be in your school, I see this in how they grow in your school. There's an unfolding that happens for them. I see that they have to do the weekly calls that they do, who do they contact, and all that stuff. But they're doing it with this grace. They're doing it with this excitement. That's how you build a flourishing coaching practice. That's how I did it. That's how you've done it. And you're sharing that system to others where they get to do this profession with joy and excitement and love. Because at the end of the day, I honestly think that's what it's about.
It's reminding me of how we first got connected, Amir, because you did Steve Chandler's coaching school, as you mentioned, and you did it the year before I did it. And the year I did it, I met a mutual friend that we have now, a guy called Jason Goldberg. And Jason was just speaking so fondly of you and just how, good fun you are. But it was deeper than that. Just you connect with people, and he created you in such a way, and you had such an impact on him, and I got on well with him. I was like, oh, I need to be friends with this Amir guy. And that's how we connected. And I think that's so true in so many businesses where we don't buy stuff or services. We really connect through the people that we interact with. And so there's this beautiful dichotomy between, on one hand, Steve Chandler talked about when I interviewed him, it's not about him. You have to take the focus off of him and onto the client. That's absolutely true. In coaching, it's about focusing on the client. And at the same time, it's nothing about you and it's all about you.
All about you.
If you're not walking your talk, if you're not, you don't have to be perfect, but if you're not on the path to being the kind of person that you would hire, then you're going to find it really difficult to create clients. And this is why I think, even though you've kind of popped in and out of coaching, you focus on your other businesses, come back into coaching. One of the reasons you're so great at coaching is because you have that real world experience. But the other hand is because constantly you're walking your talk, and you're the kind of person that certainly I look at and think, I can look up to this person. I admire this person for who they are in the world.
Thank you, Kush. Thank you. And a little secret is, even though I can consider myself a part-time coach, there is no such thing. Everything that I've learned in my coaching world gets transferred over to my restaurants. Everything that I learned in my coaching world gets transferred into my new skincare line that I've created. Everything that I learned in my coaching world has made me a better family man. Everything in my coaching world has made me a better father. Here's a little thing about people that may join your school. And it goes back to what we're saying. You become a better human. And as a better human, sometimes that role is a coach. Sometimes that role is a father. Sometimes that coach is a husband. Sometimes that coach is the person in the gym. You become a holistic, all-around better person. And at some point, you won't be able to distinguish at that point, whether you're coaching, whether you're a father, whether you're this. You just become like when I see Hardison when he speaks. He's just an incredible human being that happens to coach. Kush happens to be an incredible human being that happens to coach. And when we get together, he's an incredible human being that happens to be a very close friend of mine. And when you can't make that distinction, that's when magic starts to happen. And that's what I think one of the most differentiators of your school, again, going back to what I said, what would happen if you became a better human being? What would that do to your coaching? What would that do to your family life? What would that do to your business? What would that do if you decided to not become a coach next year and you go to something else? It doesn't go to waste. In other words, you start to thrive with whatever you touch. And there's a saying, everything that you touch turns to gold. This is one of those schools that actually, from what I've seen, brings that experience to life.
Thank you so much, Amir. I really appreciate you. I didn't expect you to say all these things. I didn't ask you to say these things, but I appreciate you. So looking forward to your masterclass. Like I said, every time you do one of these for us, I'm taking notes and I learn so much, and it makes me a better coach. So thank you for agreeing to say yes. I know you don't say yes to hardly anything these days.
Yeah.
But once again, you did say yes to being a member of the faculty for us. And thank you for spending 20 minutes or so with us today. And yeah, thank you for being such a wonderful role model for coaches. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I actually wasn't planning on talking about your school that much, but I really am excited about this. And you didn't tell me, hey, let's get on this call and let's cut a promo from our school. Actually, you just said, let's just jump on a call and share some ideas. But I don't know, man, this is it for me. Like you said, I probably do 2 webinars a year now. This is one of them. And I don't even know what the other one is. So, we'll find out what that one is, but I really believe in what you're doing. I love you dearly as a friend of mine, and I cannot wait to be a part of your faculty. Not only that, to see another group of cohorts and see what they do in the world, because the ones that you brought from the past have blown me away. So thanks, Kush, for having me, and thanks for having me jump on this quick call with you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thanks, Amir.